Why haven't players like AnyPay or even Circle Pay or Coinbase Pay Commerce, right? Or apparently Solana's launched Sol Pay or something, right? So everybody's been trying to enable, I think even Binance has some Binance Commerce or something arm, right? Where they're trying to build out merchant solution, ultimately with the end game to attract them onto my exchange so they become the de facto bank for these merchants, right? And then they do the settlements and the conversion into fiat and the payout in fiat or in USDT to their staff, do the salary management, etc. Why hasn't that actually taken off? Is that because they've been trying to take on too much? Is it because it's too big? They've taken a more industrial approach to this or a developed market approach? What's your view on that?
I think it's because they can't actually add a whole lot of value since they're custodians that we're talking about. They can't actually add a whole lot of value and a reduction of friction over the current system, which is custodial. Right? So they can't beat the banks at their own game. Right? So then the question arises like, okay, so outside of, cannabis or whatever, what can we offer? And I think that this is something that you and I have been talking about for years and exploring, but this idea of non-custodial financial services and the idea that, the structure doesn't need to look like the payment processor takes custody of the money and then disperses it out. We have a lot more creativity than that. So one of the things that we did here, and if people want it, they could probably find it on YouTube by Googling Crypto Frontier Saipan tipping. Maybe you could look up. But we explored in the Badger wallet, open source wallet. We explored with tokens. This was on Bitcoin Cash at the time, but now can be done on eCash. An idea just as a proof of concept of non-custodial tipping. So the idea would be I'm going to pay in whatever this token is. And this is live in cafes here, but I'm going to pay in whatever this token is. I tell the server I want to pay in this token. So the server has their own wallet. With the point of sale, there's a little area where they can scan their own QR code. And then when I scan the QR code that's on their thing, it'll ask me, do you want to make a tip? Right? So do I want a tip? So in addition to paying, I can make the tip. It goes out in separate Bitcoin outputs. And when I pay, my money goes directly to the shop, the cafe, and then it goes directly into the wallet of the server as a tip, right? It's not like if I was to pay by a credit card, then the merchant gets the funds and has to pay the server out of the tips or whatever they have to. It's a direct payment. And so you imagine it doesn't just have to be two parties. It could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 parties. You imagine that I could pay all the way down the supply line. Right, all the way down the supply chain for my food, right? So I could pay not just the coffee wholesaler, I could pay the coffee maker for my cup of coffee. I could pay the bean grower, right? I could pay every single person. I could pay hundreds of outputs at one particular time, all at once, peer-to-peer, right? And you imagine, but yet this is a vision that no one has talked about. And yet it's part and parcel of what we can do. And the most interesting part of this vision is, my brother is I'm libertarian, whatever you want to call it, but I'm definitely like a free marketeer, free market capitalist. And my brother happens to be a Marxist professor, tenured professor, my younger brother, at a very prestigious, maybe the most prestigious university in the United States. And I was in New Hampshire with him. We were sitting having a beer. I sort of gave him this vision, and his eyes lit up, and he said, "Well, that's Marx's dream." He said, "That's it. That's the complete. Then the workers could control the means of their own production, and we could just pay directly, and that would be a wonderful world." And I'm like, And then from the other side, the anarcho-capitalists are like, "Yeah, Bitcoin. This is the vision. Crypto. This is what we need to have." And it's like, dude, when both the far right of the economic spectrum and the far left of the economic spectrum say, yeah, we're in, right? That's the answer.